on what DEAMS is and what it really means to you. Before we really get started, while we're working this out, those of you that have not had any experience with DEAMS, DEAMS is going to be the new accounting system Air Force-wide. We've got it all across AMC right now, and we're working on transitioning it through over the next couple of years. And I'm going to briefly take you through what users will actually have the capability and what they will see, and really what it means to them. So it's more geared towards the users and not as much towards the upper echelon, but you'll be able to know a little bit what they're going through and what they have the ability to see and do. Does everybody see a screen up now? Should say DEAMS overview. Ms. Zama, do you see anything up?
Yes, sir, we do. We see the slide.
Beautiful. Again, Tech Sergeant Chloe, SCF here at HQ AMC. We will be doing questions on the chat, so if you do have something throughout the presentation, please feel free to throw it up there, and I'll do my best to address it. It may not be until the end, but we will go through the questions and see what we need to hit on. DEAMS is a key component to audit readiness. This is to assist us with being FIRE compliant so that we can be more auditable in the eyes of the public and Congress so that we can justify what it is that we do with the tax money that we receive. It is an Oracle-based system, so you'll see a lot of benefits in that. I've been working with the system as a super user for a good couple years now, and I can tell you, coming from a legacy environment to a DEAMS environment, it was challenging. I definitely do say that. It was a challenging transition, but what DEAMS does well, it really, really does very well. So I've actually been quite happy with it to now, especially now that they've really making fixes and updates to the system seriously. Now, as far as how DEAMS is going to impact you and your users, it really is, especially at the base level and the base level analysts and resource advisors, it's going to make what they do quite a bit easier because it does take all the systems, or most of the systems that we use in legacy, and lumps them into one point. So gone are the days of having to get into 4 or 5 different systems just to get a member or more done, or any of the other things that we used to have to do, and you still are currently doing in the legacy environment. Some of the systems that it takes out of play, ABSS, IF, GAF, those fun systems, all into one. Now, you may have heard some issues from people that are on the system. Some people had experience with the system. Yes, it does allow for a few more steps in some processes, but it also does take away quite a few steps in a lot of other processes. So it's a pretty decent give and take. We've given some efficiencies, but we've also received quite a few efficiencies that your analysts and your RAs will really notice. Some of these efficiencies aren't quite as noticeable at our level, but I can honestly say that just coming from a base level, being an analyst, really does make a lot that we do very nice. And one of the issues that I'm sure you've heard about, because we've been talking a lot about it, is the reporting tool in DEAMS. We go through what's called Discover Reviewer currently. Coming up here in the next couple of months, we're going to use what's called OBIEE. It's a new reporting tool that's supposed to have a lot more of a crisp-like feel for those of you that love it as much as I do. You'll hopefully be very impressed with it. I have yet to really take it for a test drive, but it's supposed to be coming to us very soon in this next series of updates, so I'm looking forward to getting behind the wheel and seeing what it can really do for us. And another one of the big issues that people have with coming onto DEAMS is you're not restricted by site IDs anymore. You really do have the ability to see and affect anything out there on the general ledger. And because of that, you will be able to get a lot more information than you really want, or may even know what to do with at the beginning. So I'm going to touch on it at the end, but you'll really need to start to know your GLACs, because this all does filter out of the general ledger. So when you do run your status of funds in different reports, You just have to take into account that you are funneling from the general ledger, so you will be pulling a lot of data that you can then work down into the stats of funds that you need. And you'll be doing the same job, just different tools. So once your folks get used to using DEAMS, I think they're really going to be okay with it. And the newer folks that we have coming in, the younger kids right out of tech school, it's all they're going to know. So you're not going to have the "this is not what I'm used to" mindset that you may with those of us that have been around legacy in the past. So, like I said, what it does actually do pretty well. And I'm going to take you through some demonstration in the system itself. And this is kind of where, please, if you do have questions and there are things that you would like to see, go ahead and type it in the chat box and we will keep an eye on it, and I'll do my best to tailor it a little bit further to what you may want to see. Before I really get too much into the demo, it was asked that I use specific examples of some of the OACs and OBANs to pull documents. I'm just going to use one from here at AMC because it doesn't necessarily save you any time to use one versus the other, because once you get an understanding, the line of accounting in DEAMS is a bit different, but once you get an understanding of the DEAMS line of accounting, just like you're familiar with the legacy, it really is just as easy to pull stats of funds for, say, 65YY as it would be to pull stats of funds for 78B. You may just be pulling more or less of data depending on the nature of the unit that you're. So I will explain a little bit more about the lines of accounting as I get into those points. But like I did say, this is just a brief snapshot of the system and its functionality and what it can do. So I didn't want to get too deep into the weeds on some of this stuff so that it didn't lose you, scare you off, or freak people out that have never even seen DEAMS. So let's go ahead and get started. Too many. Okay, once you get logged into DEAMS, this is what you're going to see as your home screen. What we've got here are, on the bottom left, you've got all the accesses that you have. And your position, whether it be an analyst, resource advisor, will designate what accesses you need. Up here on the top, that is your work list. That's what documents that may need to be affected by you. So we're just going to start out by pulling a quick report. I'm going to show you the reporting tool and how that works. And then we're going to transition to actually doing and approving and certifying through a couple of documents and some different things that you folks will be doing. So once you need to run a report, and most of your reporting, or quite a bit of your reporting, is done in the Discover Reviewer module. Some is also done in this P2P module as well. I'm just going to pull a very quick report out of the Discover Reviewer, one that I know is fast so that I don't waste. This is one of the issues that the OBIE is hopefully going to combat. Some of the reports can take a while because, like I said, the information you're pulling from is directly from the general ledger. So it does have to pull a lot more data. So some of the reports can take a little bit. Once you get into Discover Reviewer, you're going to see you've got a search filter or search block up here. I'm going to pull just what we call a certifier report. It's a great report to show you what specific analysts or resource advisors, well, actually analysts because it's for certification, what they are up to. Great report for doing numbers for appraisals, EPRs, and that kind of thing. You'll see it narrows it down to the report that's available, so we'll be able to open it up and see any other sections on here, any other specific reports that you have in that section. I'm just going to pull a quick summary report and see what one of our chief analysts is up to. Go ahead and enter their name, and it's got a couple of fields in here, but really the only ones that you need are the dates, because if you wanted to pull through your whole office, you can do it just by date, and it'll show you what everybody's productivity has been. And like I said, there's a lot of different reports that you can pull out of here, your status of funds, different obligation reports, but like this is just a very quick report and it really does only take a couple of seconds. So I really just wanted you to see what it looks like and the output. I'll show you here how long approximately it's going to take, and it will ask you if you want to continue if it is expected longer than it should. Mr. Wisdom must have been very busy because this report usually just runs in a couple of seconds. And one of the cool things about the reporting tool that you'll see in just a second is the ability to export it into any format that you would like or that you need. Okay, here is the report. And once you scroll down and see what's actually been generated, you'll see that it reports by document type. And again, this is a certification report, so it tells you how many documents the individual has certified and to the dollar amount per document type. And once you've pulled that down, you can actually export it into whatever format may best suit your needs. Pull everything into Excel. And it asks you to view or save it, and we open it out. And it really is taking, there we go. Taking a quick time today and gloss on past it. As you can see, it drops everything into an Excel spreadsheet here so you can manipulate it as you would like. There's only a few items on this report, but once you get into, say, the status fund where you may have 25,000 lines of data, exporting into Excel makes it a whole lot easier. And then we'll go ahead and jump back into the main login screen of DEAMS. And we're going to go through a couple of documents just to see how your technicians are going to approve and certify them. One caveat before I start this, it is a live instance of the system. So we won't actually be certifying any documents today because we are getting close to close out. I don't want to certify somebody else's document and throw their program possibly out of whack if they weren't ready for it to certify. So once you click on the work list, you'll see it pops up with a whole lot of stuff here. You're going to want to first go in and narrow this down by what is to do. And you're going to click go. And now it's going to show you just what is out there to be effective. As we're coming up on closeout here, you'll see that there are a lot of items that say PR flag is set to no. What these are all planning documents. So these are all the planning Form 9 getting ready for the turn of the fiscal year. So once it hits 1 October, we can go in and certify all these and push the funds out and get them going. You'll see we have one here for 65NH. That's actually one program. So we'll open it up and take a look at it. The steps that we're about to do for approval and certify are exactly the same up until the very final step, and I'll talk through that once we get to the final step. You'll click on whatever document you want to review. It's going to bring up the basic information of the document. You'll want to go ahead and take a look at the approval sequence here. That'll show you anything that has happened to the document along the way. If it's been created, rejected by contracting, rejected by us, or the FMA office down at the wing level, this will show you exactly what's been going on with the document, so you know if you may need to look for any issues that have popped up with it internally to the document. Once we go in here, we're going to actually edit the requisition. Even though we're not going to edit anything, it just allows us to see and affect more viewing the requisition details. We've got the basic details and description of the item here. And we're going to come on over and do approver checkout. And this first page that it shows us, this is actually page 2 when you're creating a document. So as we go through the next couple of steps here, it is actually going to be exactly the same for not only creating, but approving and certifying the document. So it makes it very easy that you don't have to deviate too far from anything on the processes because they're essentially, that makes it nice. Now I'm going to start talking a bit about the line of accounting. This is, and you'll see some of them more in the slides later, but the line of accounting in DEAMS is what's known as an SFIT. This number in the hyperlink right here, that is the SFIT, or the legacy line of accounting in DEAMS. And what it's made up of is the PATEO, and the PATEO is the project, the task, the expenditure type, and the expenditure organization. Now, what it does is it takes the PATEO, which comes down to who you are and what you're funding, and turns that into your full line of accounting. It translates it for you. So you'll see here that a lot of these elements really are going to look familiar. This F65NH, that is just the operating entity, or the OBAN that DEAMS is added in TIP. The task down here, you'll notice that that's just the BA and then the SAG. So it's going to be BA01 and then the SAG is going to be 11 Charlie. The only thing that's really night and day different is this expenditure type right here. That is the new. So what used to be called an EAC is now known as an object class, and can be found in the DQS. You can pull down the report to actually find a crosswalk for an object class, subclass, and it'll help you better familiarize yourself. But like the EACs, you'll start to recognize the ones that you work with quite a bit. And the expenditure organization, that's just who you are, and then it breaks it down to your RCCC, or the last 6 digits here. And then when you get in here to create a document, this hyperlink actually won't be there. It will just say charge account. So once you input this information, you'll click the charge account, and it'll actually translate it for you. Because once we get to the slide with the XFISH, you'll see that there's a whole lot of space or data that may not be required, because it was originally designed to encompass more than just the Air Force. So they had to create space for other entities' accounting classification part. Once you get the accounting classification in your bill, you get the PATEO locked in there. You can go ahead and click on the line of accounting, and then that takes you to a screen where you can check the funding of the document, or check the funding of the BA actually. So you go ahead and click check funds, and you'll only get one of 3 results here, and it's only one of the 3 that you're worried about. It'll either be successful, there'll be warnings, or it'll be a failure. Warnings just means you're getting close, and you might need to reel your RAs in a little bit. But as long as it's successful or with warnings, then it's good to go. So you can go ahead and click on back to return. Takes you back to step 1. Now, once you've verified everything in here, the dates match. And this is a planning document, as you can tell by the 1 October date on it. You go ahead and click next. And this next screen is for additional information that you could not fit. You saw that there was a description right here. It's not the longest, so you may need more information than what you can fit in there. And that's what this section is for here. So a lot of times you won't see anything in the justification or note to buyer because they were able to fit it in the original description. So we're going to jump over here to step 3. And this is one of the cool spots in creating a document, is you only see what it is you need to see. So when we come in to actually create a document, these are going to be drop down, and you'll drop down and specify, say, a Form 9 for this document. And on here, it will only leave you what you need to fill in. It'll tailor to what document type you're using. So if you're putting in a 4009, it'll actually drop this down to only, I believe, 4 different pieces of information that need to be input. It's done a 4009 knows they're very quick, and there's really not a whole lot to them. Now, if you're doing a MIPR or a MORD, it'll open up more information input because it's tailoring it to what's required for that document. And on this section, you're going to input all of the routing information, which is what all of this in the top is. The DOD F87, that's coming into our DODAC. And then the RA group, that's the specific group for the resource advisor routing. And once you get up into the budget office is where you're coming into the BR group. The external approver is great for any specific items that need somebody else as a SME on. If it's a piece of comm equipment, something that security forces knows about, you can tag one of their folks, whoever would be a SME on that specific piece of equipment or item. You'd be able to tag them in here so that they could then be in the routing and get this document to go ahead and jump in and give their 2 cents with it. If they think it's good to go, they can knock it on through. And then the contracting office and certifier group, of course, that's relatively self-explanatory. And then you'll see that there's a planning PR. They selected yes because, like we saw, this is an FY15 document. And the purpose code, this is one of the biggest areas people do miss or input incorrectly when they aren't putting their documents. So make sure you have a quick printout of the purpose code so that you do have a cheat sheet. And if we're going to cheat sheets, it's like so much easier. And then who the POC for that item is. And then any header and footer information. These are pretty cool because you can select whatever it is you may need for each document. You don't have to know exactly the wording, what needs to be in it, what specific items you'll need. So you can, once you get your document, you can open up the drop down here, and whether you need an ozone statement in it or GSA period, whatever item you may need, or whatever header and footer you may need are in here. And it even populates inputable fields so that you can put in address information, phone number information for the vendor, and it does make it a lot easier. So this part's pretty cool. And like I said, you can just scroll through and see what you may need on there, and you can input as many as you need. Doing something that needs quite a few on here, go ahead and select them all, and then fill out whatever other information in each of those notes you may need, and then you're all set. Once you get done with all the routing and pertinent information, you'll see down here on the bottom your original description with the cost center and dollar amount in here. And then once you verify that the document is good and correct, go ahead and click submit. And what this is doing is this takes you out of the editing functionality. Takes you back into either the approval or the certification, depending on what you're doing, and it's automatic. So if this document was ready to be certified, you see the signature up here versus approved. I believe it's a digital signature actually. But because this document is set for approval, we see the approve, and we'll go ahead and click on that, and it'll just throw it back into the queue for certification. Now, if it were to be certified, once you clicked on digital signature, it'll take you to a secondary page where you actually do the digital signature. You're going to click on your signature, electronic signature, and then it embeds it into the document. And then it actually brings you back here to finish signing it. So the difference, like I said, between certifying and approving a document is really only about 30 to 40 seconds, depending on how quickly the machine is moving at the time. So we're going to go ahead and get out of this document because I I do need to do a little bit more research on it. I don't want to approve it quite yet. But like I said, if we were ready to approve it, we can just go ahead and click approve here. At any time, you can click on the home button to take you back to the beginning. This is what we'll do now. And we're going to go in and just create a real fast document. I'm going to just kind of move through this a little bit quicker and show you that the steps for document creation are exactly what we just went through just with the filling in. So when you create a document, you're going to need to click in iProcurement here. And what this takes you to is an alternate home page. Some people actually have this set as their home screen. You've got, it kind of looks similar to the first screen that we were just on, but it does have an additional section. Down here is what you saw on the first screen of My Notifications. The My Notifications section, those are any documents that require you to affect in your routing chain. Up here on top, you'll see My Requisitions. Those are all the documents that you have created. So what you're really going to be looking for when you come in to just go through any documents that may need approval, if this is your home screen, you'll just use this full list, and then you'll get back into what I showed you a minute ago where you can see what's waiting to be approved. Now, if you did need to go back through and let's say you had to create a 4009 increase for one of your folks, you would be able to come back in here to My Requisitions. As long as you created the last one, you can jump in here and you can see what documents you've done. And should you need to create a 4009 increase for a resilient, you can just go ahead and click on this and start your addition. I will go into copying a document here in just a minute. I'm going to take you briefly through creating it before I take you through copying. Once you get into our procurement, you're going to click on non-catalog request. And this is the first screen that you'll see. This is the screen just before that first screen that we saw in the approval process. So this is what's going to populate that information. So we're just going to do the description and some of the information here. And you'll see that I use percent card or percent times as a wildcard. In DEAMS, the percent is a wildcard, so you can use it in the beginning or end of whatever it is that you're trying to find. So if you know that 99.99 is the category code, but you don't remember what the beginning is, you can. And the same with document numbers as you're searching for them, or really quite a few other places in DEAMS. That will help you out quite a bit. And once you do get access to the system, I do ask you to take a look around. This is one of the things that I always caution people about when they are new to the system, or even those that have been in a little bit, is please be wary of what you're doing and take a look and see the scope of what you have the ability to affect. And that's one of the items or one of the sections where you can actually see that. Anytime there's a flashlight here, it's a searchable field. So you can open this up as long as your pop-up blocker is on, or off rather. And let's say you don't know what your category is, which a lot of times is going to be the case. You can search for it by description or by number. Like I said, this is off the general ledger, and DEAMS really does encompass anything that you may think of in the DoD. So this is actually one of the entertaining areas that you can have your new analysts and new resource advisors take a look, because it'll show them the scope of what they can affect and how important it is for them to have vigilance and making sure that they're tracking what they're doing and paying attention to what they're doing, because they can affect that they've never been able to. So let's just do the initiative. have the ability to fund remote munitions, and I definitely challenge your folks to just poke around in here and see what is there, because it's almost scary what you have the ability to fund. Of course, if you wanted to do something normal, let's say as I was a WSA analyst for a while, and we had to create documents for the chapel, so you can check for, let's say, chaplain services. If they have something going on, and pull it up. And like I said, the wild card 0%. So do your best to try and narrow it down, and you can usually find what it is that you're looking for, whether it be furniture purchases, chaplain services, remote munitions. There really isn't a whole lot that you're going to find isn't in. But if it's not in there and you thought it was at 99.99%, that's all. And I'm just going to do a 4009, so my quantity is going to be, I'll do it for $1. Unit of measure is going to be based on what contracting needs are. Contracting will let you know if it should be a lot, if it should be each, or whatever the specific unit of measure for whatever it is that you're purchasing. That's an editable field, so if you did create a document and they decided that it needs to be a lot instead of each, or a bushel, or whatever, you can then go back into the document and edit it out and change it to whatever it is they need. Price for components, so it's always going to be $1. And you're going to add to your cart, just like every good shopping website, we've got a cart. And you'll see it populated in our cart over here. So we're going to view the cart and check out. And then you'll see the information that you saw here. And you'll go ahead and check out. There is no free 2-day shipping with Amazon Prime on DEAMS. And this looks familiar. This is going to be the first screen that you'll see in the approval process. So the project, HAF, expenditure type, and organization. That's the potato that we talked about earlier. So we're just going quick one as uses a dummy so that you can kind of see. If you don't necessarily know all of the elements, it does have a flashlight here. So we'll just use this one real quick to show you how the search functionality of it works. It started out with the S65YY. That's one of the OAX and O bands here. It gives you, of course, all of the projects, and these are all fee funded because it's for direct funded because it's got the fee in there. What's up here is 4534 with the OAX. And you'll see that it also includes the EFT code. So should you be doing stuff for OCO or whatever EFT code you may need, you'll see everything right here. You got a quick select button over here on the left, so that just saves you a step or two. So we're going to go ahead and select. And then the task, like we said before, this is your BA and then your ag tag. If I select the one with 3010, I wasn't exactly sure what it would let me select. We'll just select BA02, and let's say it's travel. Don't know it yet, but this is the object class for 40924, the new standard 409E, since the 3 digits has been allowed. And expense organization, let's say this is the chapel. And the dates here are both current month. And right here, this is where the long line of accounting was before, but I said that it would show the enter charge account. Once we've populated the PKO information up here, you go ahead and click that enter charge account. And you'll notice that it's now populated the entire line of accounting, which is known as the SFIT again in DEAMS. Do a check fund. Successful. So go ahead and click return. And now you'll notice that the charge account has actually been populated here for us as well, so you can see the full line of accounting. Next, I'm getting here. Should I have not had enough room to put dummy in there on the first one, I can let them know that it's for dummy number 2. And click next into the routing. And here's what I was talking about with the drop down and the specification of what type of form you're using. We're going to be doing, like I said, a 4009. So you're going to click on that, and you'll see it narrows it down to just the routing of the document. And you'll have all of these once the base gets spun up and everything gets established with all the routing, you'll have all of these numbers and routings available for you. And it'll be specific, of course, to your group, your budget office. You'll have that information. I'm just going to go ahead and input hours here so that it populates. Yeah, I'm using the percent time. All cards really can save you quite a bit of time. You'll see that the names start filtering in Scott FMA. On folder, I will go ahead and put myself on the name. And the budget review group, it does not show this as required, but it won't let the document process through if you don't have it. And Scott Air Force Base again, and then the certifier. Expiration date, GPC is always going to be 1-year funds, so you can go ahead and jump over to September 30th. Master account code. And you notice how quickly we were able to go through that. It really does not take you very long, especially if you're working with a 4009. You can really knock out a 4009 and it's a brand new one beginning of the year, or unit that just decided to start using funding. 4009, Form 9, some of these documents you really can't get through pretty quickly. A lot of the time, the more time-consuming portion is to get the backup documentation and actual approvals that you need before the document gets in place. I'm going to go ahead and submit it, and this will throw it into the routing chain. Mr. Wisdom and the rest of the crew down at base level will see this and know that I've probably lost my mind and just started inputting random documents. And I'll reject it back to me here in a little bit. But once it gets to this screen here, then you know it's out in the DEAMS cosmos and awaiting further approval. And it'll go ahead and go through the approval process, and you'll begin to get emails as to who is affected. So if it gets rejected, you'll get an email, or once it gets sent through, it'll let you know as well. We're going to go ahead and return back to home. And like I said before, you have the ability to copy and just do a new addition to a document. And we're going to go ahead and do one of those as well. So we're going to come back into our procurement here. And like I said before, this is where you have the ability to see what you have done. In the My Requisition screen, you'll notice that there's now the document that we just input, the dummy 4009. You can click on Full List, see what this one looks like. Now should it turn out that I needed to do an increase to this document, even though it is in routing, you have the ability to do an increase to it should you need to. And what an increase is just a copy to cart. It's called a DEAMS. So you'll see up here at the top, you have a couple of buttons. The cancel requisition, that I'll be doing here in a couple of minutes. And copy to cart. So should you need to do an increase, let's say they needed $2 instead of $1 on their dummy 4009. You can just go in here and once this has been actually processed through and certified, you'll see that it just says approved reserved up here. But it'll let you do one to a document in routing. So we'll click on copy to cart. And now what you see here is one of the first screens that we saw when we were creating and certifying document. It shows you the description and the dollar amount. Now, the big thing to realize here is you have to add what you're trying to add and not what you want the document to be. So if I'm just trying to add $1, I'm going to make sure the quantity shows $1 here and not $2 should I want the total outcome to be 4,009 total dollars are committed. So I want to add $1 to that account, so we're going to leave it as $1 here and just click checkout. And you'll recognize this screen, and this is all of the information. It directly populates everything for you. So you can, once you jump in here, you can just click on the line of accounting. Back to the check funds, so you'll be able to click on check funds and make sure that the VA can handle another $1. And we're going to hit return. All of this information should still be the same. I know you will notice that this is a travel econ 4009. I didn't do that on purpose. If you were trying to use the 61950, it would actually be 260.3312. But you don't need to have a specific on 2009 if you wanted it to be for cell phones or for miscellaneous office supplies. Whatever the GPC is used for will be the econ. And you're going to jump into step 3 where we can go ahead and approve the document for routing just like we did when we created the first one, except this one is in addition to. Once you've verified everything, you'll submit. And then send it back to the SMA office for approval. Now we'll go home, back to the home screen, and you'll see that we now have not only the basic 4009, which always ends in 00, but then the first amendment to it, which ends in 01. I can tell you that doing an increase to a 4009 can really take you about 35 seconds. That is pretty awesome to do, and it's great that it really does only take you a second. And once we've gone in and created a 4009, then you may want to go in and actually print one out so the RA or analyst or whoever can have it on their record. So we're going to go back to the home screen here. And you're going to select the PTP inquiry. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And if I do go a little bit quickly through any of this for you, just know that there are a lot of walkthroughs out there and available for it. You can find them on the FMDLC, the financial version of as well as on DEAMS. Get them from the bases that are on DEAMS. We have walkthrough Word and PowerPoint. So please don't fail me now. I'm hoping that Java does work earlier. Like Java may not be playing. Java may not be playing well right now, and it may be a preempting of the system We actually are having a big downtime for the system starting today through the next couple of days where they're going to be running a very large patch to give us a lot of updates. So it's actually going to be about 5 days of being downtime so they can make a lot of improvements for us and for those of you that are coming up. So it looks like I may not be able to go through actually printing a document currently, but it actually is very easy. Just going to jump into this P2P and click run, and then it'll ask you for what type of document you're wanting to print and the document number. And then it'll actually print out a version. It'll print out the real version of the document. I say real as you know it, legacy. Your 4009 is going to look like your 4009, and same with your 1080. All the documents will be familiar and comfortable. Loading targets. The last couple steps that I have here to take you through are all Java specific. So I won't be able to take you through those couple of things, but they do have walkthroughs for this that I've done previously. And you will be able to take a look at those to see, to see the status of funds, to see the real-time funds check capability of these, as well as loading your targets. Loading the targets is relatively easy. It will take a second or two longer in DEAMS than it would in Legacy. But I think it's a lot more user-friendly. It's a lot more intuitive because you don't have the postcodes to try and decipher that you did before, that you do currently with the Legacy. As you've seen with some of the other processes that I've shown you in DEAMS, it's a drop-down metric. So the newer analysts, the younger kids are going to do it a lot better and a lot easier because I think it's closer to what they're familiar with, and it's more intuitive, so it's a lot easier to figure out. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the main. Are any questions that need to be addressed before we go ahead and go through the final 5 minutes or so closing? Looks like Colonel Sanders has it all taken care of.
There looks like there are no further questions in the chat room at this point.
Sorry?
It seems like there are no other questions in the chat room at this point.
That looks about right. And you're right, Mr. Jenkins. It does seem a bit more busy, but like Lieutenant Colonel Sanders says, when you get into the walkthroughs and talkthroughs of the processes in the system, I know that it does give you every step in the process, so it looks a lot busier than it actually is. But once you start inputting documents, whatever it may be, you'll notice that it takes a lot less time than what the walkthrough may appear that it's going to take. Okay, now we'll hit the closing. A quick drink of water. Some of the takeaways. Please know that DEAMS is coming. It is the way of the future. I'm not here to start dishing out cups of Kool-Aid, but it is coming. It's on the horizon for all of us. I can tell you that before a couple of years ago, I didn't know the first thing about DEAMS, and I was definitely very nervous. But once you get into it, especially now that we're going live to so many bases, they're taking the required changes and updates a lot more seriously. So the system is getting better and more user-friendly as the updates improve. My advice is to start learning and familiarizing yourself now. start getting a good POC listing, there's a lot of bases on it currently, and I guarantee you that as your folks start coming online with DEAMS, there are probably not going to be as many issues that haven't been encountered already. So the biggest help that a unit can do is to get a good contact, a good POC listing for those of us that have done it and been doing it for some time and have lived through a lot of the issues and a lot of the problems. And so that we can then just continue the networking and helping each other throughout getting the system up to where it needs to be. Because it does still have some growing to do. I'm not going to, by any means, tell you that this is a perfect system because that would be false. It's a great system. It will be a really great system, but it does still have some growing to do, and we're working on it. They're working on it. And as it goes to more folks, we can all do better at forcing them to work on it faster and better so that they can and get it to where it needs to be for all of us. And here's a quick breakdown of the lines of accounting. I've got up here on top is the legacy line of accounting that you are all familiar with. And then below it is the line of accounting. And this is actually only kind of a portion of it. You see once you get a full lot of NAs and a lot of additional zeros. But what that is, like I said, it's taken into account financial data than we need. For line of accounting elements from so the quick breakout here, like I said, the only major difference that you'll see is right here with the heat and the object subclass. But with that being said, like I said, you can find those. There's good walkthroughs. You can pull out an Excel spreadsheet, all of the heat and object subclasses. One issue to know about is some of them, they're still working on, as far as I know, they're still working on creating all the valid ones. So make sure you are double checking if you are using a new subclass that you're double checking that it is correct. I'm not saying I've encountered any incorrect or invalid ones, but there of course are going to be a piece of the line of accounting that needs to be addressed. Or using one that's outside of what you may normally use, please verify it and ensure its validity. Just like you would with any that and that it's valid. And the potato, like I said, is who you are and what you're purchasing. And here is what I was talking about with the additional NAs and all the different zeros in there. This is a correlation from a legacy line to an SDIS. Break out of its specific pieces here with the potato. So you can go ahead and then, like I said, with the object classes, here's just a brief crosswalk with 210 and 1101, that's your 40924, and then 265 OGBC account. The GLAC, I've mentioned GLAC a couple times. Start familiarizing yourself with them. You don't need to know all of them before you get DEAMS, but at least try and get a hold of what the GL or the GLAC that you will need more often than not, or at least just get a listing like this where you can cross-reference it and see what it is that you need as you need it. And of course, we have our Millbook site here, or Millsuite site. A lot of information on here, a lot of opportunities to network and get in touch with not only the folks that are going to be getting DEAMS, but the ones that have recently received it and the ones that have already had it for quite some time. I know we've got a pretty decent sized crews here that are on the field list, and we see walkthroughs and things go back and forth on here. So please feel free to jump on here. There is the DEAMS users group. And good networking and good POC. And one of the biggest sticking points for me, actually, when we got DEAMS was Chris. I love Chris, huge fan of it, always was, and it is now. Unfortunately, you can still run Chris report, but the validity of the information is not good there. Chris does not, or DEAMS does not interface with Chris often, so the not trust Chris when you're trying to run a selective, sorry, not a selective, but a staff defined with DEAMS. Why they've got OBIE coming on deck so that we can get a reporting tool, and then it'll be a little bit more crisp. It'll be a little bit better and a little bit happier. And of course, we've got our website. So for more information, please take a look at our NOVO site, the outreach portal. Watch the network and see how to get in touch with people that have had the issues that you may be looking at, or anything. If you've got a new issue, you can post it on here and somebody's going to see it, and or get you in touch with the folks that you need to.
Okay, Chris, well, thank you so much for the presentation this afternoon, and thank you also for members of the HAF who joined, and we really appreciate the update on DEAMS and you taking your personal time to volunteer to present this information for us. I know we're all looking at DEAMS, and on behalf of all of us in the training team, especially